a chicken farm when I was like 14, and fuck, chickens are dicks to each other.
What do you think of the sign? Can you become vegan?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
What would be the hardest part for you?
I work out like 6 days a week, and just the amount of like what my diet would have to be to keep the protein up for vegan would just be a pain.
How much protein do you think you need?
Well, again, it depends on what you're doing. What, like I said, I work out.
Let's just say you're an Olympic athlete, Olympic weightlifter.
That also depends on your weight and everything. There's a lot of variables for it. But I mean, I just don't. And a lot of vegan food just doesn't appeal to me. Like, it's not an ethical thing. It's just I don't like the food. I'm fine with, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think like, oh, fuck vegans or anything like that. I just it's not food that appeals to me. I don't go out of my way to avoid it, but I don't go out of my way to get it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll address the first part there. So you said that protein. Okay, so I get what you're saying. Yeah. So as far as protein, I mean, there's Olympic weightlifters, and Kendrick Ferris, he competed in the last Summer Olympics. He took gold, and you know he's an Olympic weightlifter. He can get enough protein on a vegan diet. And
you got to look at long-term vegan diets too. There hasn't really been anyone who's been a vegan for fucking 40 years doing like high intensity training and stuff, so like we can't really see what a long-term pure vegan diet has done to anyone yet.
Okay, well, let's just take Arnold Schwarzenegger for instance, and he's not vegan, right? And he ate meat his whole life. Look at him, and how many he's had a heart attack procedure. He had a
but at the same time he also beat the shit out of himself, and the amount of fucking steroids the man did in the 80s didn't fucking help.
Is it healthy to be a high intensity workout trainer for that long, or is it just enough to be healthy?
You just be healthy. Like, there's a difference between being in shape and just like turning it to the point that you're hurting yourself. You touched on as you do CrossFit, like that's just beating the shit out of your body.
You touched on ethics there, and I'd like to get your opinion on it there.
I have a sister who's a vegetarian, but she's one of those like how can you kill an animal vegetarians? But I just look as it's a food chain. Like, what the fuck's gonna stop? Like I hunt sometimes too, and like I can tell you a fucking cougar's gonna not give a shit that you're a person or not. It looks at you as meat. Like every other animal, meat is meat. Like,
so how does that justify you being not vegan?
How are people not just another animal? Like, what makes me go like, oh well, it's immoral for me to eat meat, but for every other animal it's not immoral? Like,
so you're talking about like the general circle of life, right?
Like, why am I the one animal that it's immoral if I eat meat, but it's perfectly fine for every other animal?
What stops me from eating you?
Well, I mean, that's a little different. That just comes down to ethics. I had a coworker the other day who, like, I said I had a pocket knife. He's like, what's to stop you from just stabbing someone when you get in an argument? I'm like, because I'm not a fucking savage. Like,
we're not savages. We're not wild. We've grown. We have a higher intellect,
there's no purpose for me just to do that. It's like eating meat. It is food. There's no purpose in like what's the point of going out of my way to avoid it? But at the same time, it's like with hunting. There's a lot of species that the only reason they're still even around is because people can make a profit off of hunting them.
Right.
Like, look at rhino numbers. They've gone up in areas where they've been allowed to hunt them because it's in their best interest to keep them alive, because they're like, poacher's just going to kill it and take the horn. That asshole's going to pay me 10 grand to hunt it.
Well, so why are they going extinct?
Just people not, again, like I said, people don't see them as something that they can, it is kind of a like use thing. Like, people are dicks basically, but again, I value human life over an animal's. Like my wife got mad one time because I ran over a rabbit, and I told her, I was like, I had a friend die because he swerved to avoid a fucking duck. So like, if there's an animal on the road, sorry, but fuck them. Like,
so, and I think a lot of vegans, they agree with you. They're saying they're not putting animals and humans on the same level. They're just saying that animals should be more valuable than your taste buds.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
animal cruelty. I got a friend who's a butcher, and he he was telling me like he he won't do kosher beef because he thinks it's mean, because like I don't know if you know how that's made, but
kosher, well, they bless it, and they have a slaughterhouse, right?
Well, no, the way it's specifically slaughtered, to get kosher beef, you bless it and then you slit its throat and let it bleed out.
Yeah.
A regular cow, you nail with a bolt gun and it's dead in 2 seconds.
Not always. They try that, but
I mean, it's not a perfect system, but I'm saying there's a difference between just going pop, cow's dead, and making everyone, like, making kosher beef, like, oh, well, we gotta let him bleed out so people can fucking eat it. Like I'm not in favor of that. Like, unnecessary cruelty you don't need.
What's unnecessary cruelty?
Again, like making it suffer, like snap dead.
Oh, yeah, the vape
fucking better than just.
So if I took a dog right here, do you have a dog at home?
Or
a pet?
I to talk on that because I just shot my dog like 6 months ago because it was old and I couldn't find a shelter to take it, and
how did it make you feel when you?
It was biting people.
How did it make you feel when you had to shoot your dog?
It was shitty, but I didn't really have choices besides go pay a vet like $700 to put him down,
right.
And a bullet costs 25 cents. And I think it's part of owning a pet is you have to be willing to make that decision.
Right. So putting a dog down. No,
Yeah,
that's a difficult position.
You have to be willing to do that. You can't just it's part of its responsibility.
Right.
Like, you can't. It's not somebody else's problem. It's your dog.
Right. So and in that case, right? I mean, you're putting you're euthanizing it. You're putting it out of its misery and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was like 17, half blind, and he was biting people. And I was like, someone's gonna sue me, or he's gonna hurt a kid.
That's a shitty position.
I couldn't find a shelter that wants a 17-year-old half blind dog that bites people. So I was like, well, sorry, buddy, but you're getting buried on the acreage.
So taking from that experience that you had to breeding in 56 billion animals a year just for the sole purpose of eating them.
Oh, well, his numbers are stupid on it. Like, it's unnecessary, the amount, but I think, yeah, it should be scaled back a bit, but to the extreme where some people are like no meat whatsoever, I think everything in moderation. It's like,
what is moderation to you?
Well, it's like there's nothing wrong with having a beer. There's something wrong with drinking a 12-pack every night. Like, right. Same with like cheeseburgers. You can have a fucking cheeseburger. Don't have 20.
But who's the victim when you're drinking beer?
Your body, the people around.
Now, who's the victim when you're eating a hamburger?
Also your body, but again, you're
an animal that probably didn't want to die, though, right?
But
an animal that didn't want to die.
But that gets into levels of like of animal consciousness, and some animals are smart, but like back in BC, I worked on a fish farm, and I can tell you a salmon doesn't know dick. Their fucking brain will fit on my pinky.
Well, maybe they might not have the same kind of level of intellect like us, and they probably can't know how to vote. They don't know how to do all these things. But
when you're walking around the cage, if you walk too hard, they'll literally just slam their head into the wall and die just because they heard a loud noise.
Do you think they're sentient?
Well, if they know how to breathe, I think they're sentient, but I mean...
Do they have a central nervous system? Can they experience pain?
See, there's been a lot of argument that they don't experience pain just because they basically have, like, the things that salmon do are counterproductive to things that would be like, well, this will kill you. Why would you do that? So there's kind of an argument among, like, people working with the fisheries whether they can feel pain or not, because they'll do stuff that will hurt them.
How do you sense pain?
Again, your nervous system, but there's an argument of whether they have the connection to their brain of it, because just
they do.
Honestly, with salmon, it's an interesting one. You might want to look into that one yourself because it's really weird. Like, a lot of people have kind of argued about that.
Let's agree to disagree on the salmon, but let's just take every other animal out there. Do you think they also feel pain? Let's say a dog. Does a dog feel pain?
They feel pain.
So if a dog can feel pain, probably a pig can feel pain, probably a cow can feel pain.
But at the same time, is it... animals feel pain. Some animals feel pain. Some don't quite have that signal. Like, it's debatable on that, but it's also a level of like I said, cougar, a bear doesn't give a fuck. A bear will eat another bear. Yeah. Like, it's just animals eat other animals and people are animals. It's just part of nature. Like,
so once again, you could use that justification to say, oh, okay, well, I'm just an animal, so I'll just kill you right now.
But see, animals won't do that when it's counterproductive. Like, an animal's not just it's gonna kill an animal to eat an animal. It's not gonna just be like, you're dead and walk away. Like, it's getting
to live. It's to survive, right?
Survive.
So why do you need to eat meat to survive?
Well, it's just like there's sometimes where it's preference, but sometimes it's also like when you got to look at budget. Like,
okay, what are the most cheapest foods on the planet?
Some people are bad at cooking vegan too. Like, my sister's a vegetarian. Holy shit, I tried to teach her to cook some vegetarian dishes, but it's just nothing but that like prepackaged vegan bullshit.
But what are, like, I'll go back to, what are the cheapest things to eat on the planet?
Again, like
meat or vegetables?
Vegetables and stuff.
Okay, what do vegans eat?
So you gotta look at grazing land and farmland for both animals and crop.
Okay.
What you need
what takes up the most land?
Crop.
What takes up the most land for crops?
Well, right now it's wheat for fucking for agriculture.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or how about soy?
I haven't
soy and corn.
Soy. Years ago, what I had read was it was agricultural wheat, like grain for agriculture.
The rough estimates are the highest ones are soy and corn. And do you know who we feed soy and corn to?
It's cows, yeah.
Cows. So we actually go and take crops from over and across the seas in Africa and stuff like that, and we ship them to the U.S. and Canada and Mexico to feed cows, so we can eat them.
Oh, it's stupid. I know.
It's about a 10-to-1 ratio.
I've worked in restaurants where we've used like beef from fucking like Brazil, and I'm like, we're in Alberta, we're like, this province is I'm from Vancouver Island originally, like out here I'm like, this province is supposedly known for its beef, why are we using South American beef? Like, that makes no sense.
Why are we using beef at all then?
Well, I mean, even like if it would kind of help limit like huge farms if it was more local supply for any food in general. Like, why do I need to get a fucking pineapple in Alberta?
Yeah, well, you know, you're absolutely right. There are reasons why we're buying food from all over the place when we grow it here locally, right? I get that.
Region's food, like.
But what I'm saying is why would we even eat animals to begin with when they have such a high environmental tax?
Well, that's on the level that we're doing it. I'm saying like on a smaller level, like smaller, like people working on just their area. That kind of cow farm, like, I grew up with friends doing farming, and like a farm with like 200 cows isn't doing the kind of damage of like a fucking like massive farming operation that's like feeding a fucking nation. Like.
Right. So if we all switch to a vegan diet, what would happen to the amount of land we would need to use?
We'll see at the same time as that, if everyone switched to a vegan diet, what happens to all the agricultural animals that there are right now? No farmer's going to just be like, I've got 7,000 heads of cattle, I'm just going to keep them.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So what happens is, not everybody's going to go vegan overnight, right? Yeah. There's going to be a gradual shift. So as the supply drops, as the demand drops, the supply will drop, right? We're not going to be force breeding so many into existence because we're literally impregnating female cows and female chickens in order to
I worked on a chicken farm when I was like 14, and fuck, chickens are dicks to each other.
Yeah.
People.
Why do you think that? Why are they dicks to each other?
It's also part of like them being so cramped together affects it, but even free range chickens I've seen do shit like if they are low on calcium, you have to keep supplementing their calcium, because if you don't, they'll just eat each other's eggs.
Yeah. Did you do the debeaking?
No, we didn't do that just because it was an egg farm, so we weren't really like worried about them pecking each other because they had a bit more movement. The egg farm cages aren't like they aren't cramped. It's like 3 to a cage that I'd say is about the size of like a fridge. Yeah. And they've got slats so the eggs just drop down.
So how did you kill the males?
We would.
Was it a grinder or?
Where I worked, we just had like, they'd come in big carts essentially with stacks of boxes, and you just took the chickens, put them in the cages. I was like 14. It was just like cheap work. Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't even legal. I was getting paid like $8 cash every hour.
Oh yeah. They just needed somebody to do the work, and just under the table type thing. Yeah. But so they didn't actually make you guys take care of the males?
No.
Did you ever find out how? Oh.
Like we didn't raise the chickens. They were brought there. And
okay. So you were a second stage.
We were the second stage before the eggs.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I just want to know exactly how they did it out there in BC.
Yeah, but, it was like stages. You got the guy who raises chickens, you got the guy who does eggs, and then the eggs all go off to somebody who like sanitizes and packages and all that shit.
Oh, okay. So is eating eggs, can we justify doing that? Can we justify eating eggs?
Well, it's a bit more sustainable, like,
than plants?
Well, not from plants. I mean meat. Like it's a way to get a protein. It's like. See, I think animal byproducts gets kind of weird. Like, I can understand not wanting to eat meat, but like I said, my sister went like full. She's just a vegetarian now, but for a while she was like she wouldn't take pills that were in gelatin capsules.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a little fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because if you really break it down, the amount of stuff that like has an animal byproduct in it.
Well, it's just because we are trying to use up as much as possible, right? We don't have any waste, so we're like, oh, okay, we're going to use the intestines to make sausage. We're going to use the cartilage to make candy. You know, like I get that. You know, but as soon as we all go vegan, they're not going to have all these byproducts. So everything's being made with plant-based materials, right? Oh, yeah. We're not going to have leather interiors to our cars. We're going to have. They actually have cactus leather now.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, if we had been focusing on plant-based alternatives this whole time, then we probably could get. So, I mean, a couple takeaways there, but